Great. Welcome everyone to the Town of Greater Napanee regular session of council for the 13th day of January 2026. Just before we call this evening's meeting to order, I would like to remind everyone that this evening's meeting is being live streamed via our YouTube channel. So welcome to the folks that are here in the body of the council chambers for this evening's meeting. Welcome to those that are watching tonight, and welcome to those as well that are watching, whether it be tomorrow, the next day, next year. So having said that, we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start this evening's meeting with our opening proceedings, which is the playing of the national anthem. I'll ask those in the body of the council chambers to stand and face the flag as we play the national anthem. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to start this evening's meeting out with our rise and report from closed session. So I'll look for a motion to rise and report from closed session. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? The motion is carried. I would like to report that this evening in closed session, council adopted the closed session minutes of December 9th and received reports on 3 other matters. As a part of process change for greater transparency, council will be passing resolutions in open session to ratify all closed session direction. The first matter, confidential SR 1138-2025 land sale 12 Market Square offer to purchase. A recommendation that council receive for information the confidential SR 1138-205 land sale 12 Market Square offer to purchase, and further that council direct and authorize staff to proceed with option 3 as outlined in the report. And we'll look for a mover and a second for that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Next matter is confidential SR 1161-2026 Human Resources. The recommendation that council receive for information the confidential SR 1161-2026 Human Resources Report. And look for a motion for that one as well. Moved by Councillor Shank, second by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. And the final matter is confidential SR-1153-2025 Human Resources. Recommendation that council receive for information the confidential report SR 1153-2025 Human Resources. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Now I'll look for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Norrie, seconded by Deputy Mayor Calver. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Presentations. I don't believe we have any presentations this evening. Deputations, scheduled deputations, new items. I don't believe we have any of those, which gets us right into the deputations items on the agenda. And I believe we've got 3 of those this evening. And just before we get started, I just want to remind folks that are here this evening and the folks that are watching that the purpose of deputations at council meetings in Ontario is to allow members of the public, groups or organizations to officially voice their views or concerns about a particular matter. Deputations are the official process to have your concerns presented publicly to council on the meeting agenda and in the public record. They are an opportunity for the public input and are important in the decision-making process as they help ensure that voices of the community are heard and considered. And we're going to stick very closely to those principles. So having said that, we'll start off with the first deputation, which is Tony Balasevicius, declaration of surplus property, the former CN rail line north of Highway 401. Welcome, Tony, and I know you've been here before, so I'm sure you'll get used to the microphone system. Is that the button on the right is you have to push it and hold it, and when you let up on the button, then the folks at home can't hear you, but you have to hold the button down as you're speaking. So, and just so everybody knows is that we do have some new microphones coming so that you can just push the button, it'll be on, and then you push the button so it's off. So we are progressing into the 21st century here. So whenever you're ready, Tony, the floor will be yours.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. From the very beginning, I had deep concerns about this project and the way it unfolded. Despite those concerns, I came to support the compromise crafted by the Ad Hoc Sales Committee, a solution built through hard work, listening, and genuine community collaboration. Before Council chose to pursue a sale, I was prepared to support a long-term plan that would eventually see the land responsibly disposed of after the trail link was secured and the community's interests protected. This is because the committee has reminded us all of something very important. In Greater Napanee, stakeholders with diverging interests and priorities can come together, tackle difficult challenges, and achieve great things. They reached the classic Canadian compromise. No one gets everything they wanted, but everyone gets something that they can live with. That spirit should guide Council now. I urge you to hold onto the corridor until funding commitments are secure and trail construction is completed both in town and on the Cataraqui Trail link. Selling before the town even has a formal trail strategy risks progress on future development and breaking faith with residents who put trust in your process. There have been a number of unofficial reasons circulating about the town as to why this trail needs to be sold, and I will address these now. The obvious pushback for selling now has been that money is needed to start construction, but that justification falls short. The town can now afford new initiatives like paying $500,000 a year in debt repayments to itself, or bringing in a $350,000 tax reduction on the garbage levy. It can afford to wait before liquidating taxpayer assets. More importantly, linking trail funding to the sale of the rail line makes community trails hostage to a property deal. No sale, no trails is not policy, it's ransom, and residents deserve better. Some town officials have cited the Highway 401 expansion and bridge removal as closing off access to the line and justification for selling the corridor. In fact, staff have indicated that they are already engaged with MTO on exploring possible workarounds. Staff's current efforts in this regard only serves to underscore why holding the corridor is now more critical than ever. Who sells the land they need to negotiate with before the negotiations have even begun? If the corridor is sold, Napanee potentially forfeits its seat at the table, eliminating any guarantees to secure either the crossing site, alternative crossings, or to get the best deal possible for taxpayers in the 401 expansion talks. Selling before an official memorandum of understanding is signed sends a clear message to MTO. The town isn't serious about trail development. It's merely being opportunistic. Simply put, we do not own the ground. We won't be negotiating a workaround. We now find that only one landowner has expressed interest in a single section of the rail line. This means nearly the entire line will remain in town hands regardless of any sale. More importantly, what is left will become even more closed off and more inaccessible than it is now. So what, in practical terms, has actually changed by selling off just that one piece of the line? The latest issue to take the spotlight is trespassing. According to by-election campaign outreaches and social media sites, this is becoming a growing and costly issue for landowners. Yet, in October, staff brought forward a leasing option for the specific purpose of addressing the trespassing issue, and it was rejected outright by council and presumably the landowners. Suggesting now that the only way to fix this problem is by selling out taxpayers is just plain wrong. In fact, I would argue that the leasing option is the strongest solution to dealing with trespassing because it pairs the landowner with the town to fight this problem together. We need to remember that trail development was never part of council's initial plan or initial 2023 plan for the sale. This idea evolved only after taxpayers' pushback and the hard work of the Ad Hoc Trails Committee. In this respect, the CN rail line is more than property. It is a symbol of the town's commitment to taxpayers that promises made will be promises kept. It is a capital reserve for future opportunities, and it is a signpost that fairness is being maintained in the overall process. Let us assume that we accept all the arguments for the need to sell the line. I struggle to see any rationale for this rush to sell now. I ask, is there something taxpayers have not been told? What I can say with certainty is that selling now does not protect the interests of Greater Napanee or in any way strengthen the town's position for the upcoming 401 expansion talks. Staff likely recognized both of these issues along with the trespassing concern when they proposed the leasing option in their October report. What I do know is that the hard work and compromises within the Ad Hoc Trails Committee produced an innovative solution to a difficult problem. In the process, it helped unite what in early 2023 had become a very divided community. Selling now reopens those divisions, takes away any leverage the town might have to get the best possible deal for taxpayers, and risks breaking faith with residents who put their trust in this process. A process council itself established, ironically, to regain voters' trust. If I were asked my views on how we might proceed with this issue, I would recommend a solution that gives everybody both transparency and long-term security. Taxpayers want to see a trail network completed before the town gives up a strategic corridor. The landowner wants certainty that once the trail connection is secure, future councils won't reverse course on the sale. The first step in this process should be the creation of a master trails plan for Greater Napanee. Such a plan would map out routes, identify possible alternatives, look at the potential for future connections, and provide the town with a general idea of the overall cost. More importantly, it would give residents and council a clear picture of what is actually possible. Until the trail construction is complete, I would recommend returning to the rental agreement model, but with one key improvement: a clause granting the landowner the right of first refusal once the trail trail link is completed. This protects the landowner's interests while ensuring the town does not lose leverage or a strategic asset before the future of the trail is secured. This approach not only helps protect taxpayers and landowners, it will provide staff and the town with specific guidance moving forward in their talks with MTO and hopefully form the foundation of future grants and provincial funding proposals. In summary, selling now removes Napanee's seat at the table because a quarter sold is a quarter gone forever. I ask that you pause, plan, and preserve taxpayers' leverage and trust before proceeding with this sale. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Tony. Just hang tight. We'll see if there's any questions of your presentation. Council, is there any questions or comments for Mr. Balasevich's presentation? Nope, seeing none. Thank you very much, Tony. And we'll look for a motion to note and receive the scheduled deputation of Tony Balasevich, declaration of surplus property. Moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Councillor Norrie. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Next deputation is the rescheduled from December 9th, 2025, Hubert Hogle, former CN rail line north of the 401. Welcome, Mr. Hogle. Once again, I know you've been here before, but we'll just repeat the rules of engagement here is that the button on the right is you have to hold it as you're speaking, and if you don't, the folks at home can't hear you. And then when you're done speaking, just let up on it. So whenever you're ready, the floor will be yours.
I've got it. Okay, thanks very much once again for hearing me. I'm going to try and stay within my 5 minutes. You have my deputation. It's been here since the 8th of December. It's detailed. It will remain in the town archives. It sits at my position. It'll be here for anybody to look at. And I've made it perfectly clear where I stand on this. And it'll be there. I didn't just deliver a two-line message that I wanted to speak to you this morning. You've had it. I presume, had a time to read it. I hope you have read it. I'm not going to reread it to you. I mentioned in that the problems with the alternate access, and that's what I want, alternate route, and that's what I want to talk about. At the time, I said I didn't know where the alternate route is, and I've talked to 4 of the members of the ad hoc trail committee since then, including the 3 that are in the room here, and I still don't know where it is. Nobody can tell me where it is. I actually asked them, and in the noisy session we had downstairs after the last meeting, I know somebody had to close the upstairs door, and they wouldn't tell me. So I still don't know where it is. I hope that the next speaker will at least take out a map and draw on it. Here's where the alternate route runs. Because I don't know, the public doesn't know, I don't know if you people know. I'm beginning to wonder if it even exists. I mentioned the cost of the alternate trail, the beauty of a rail trail and why it has been successfully implemented from coast to coast is that everything is there. The rail bed is there. It's drained on both sides because you have to run a train on it, a locomotive. It's fenced on both sides to keep livestock off the rail line and to keep trespassers from coming out and maybe getting hit by a train. So the fence is there, the drainage is there, the bed is there, everything's there. All you got to do is take the steel out, sell it, and put some gravel in, and that's what's done in the other 100 kilometers of the Cataraqui Trail all the way to Smith Falls. And on the K&P Trail, I've walked these trails, I biked these trails, they're just beautiful, they're level, very, very few grades except the one going down into Kingston. It's simple to do and doesn't cost a lot of money. That's why it's been so successful. Moving that, you have to, first of all, survey it. We paid $40,000 to survey that line when we bought it. That's where most of the money went, to pay for surveying it. And we paid to survey it. The taxpayers here paid to survey it. And we're going to have to do that for the trail line for any alternate route. It has to be surveyed because you can't register anything in the registry office without defining where it goes. The staff will tell you that. Your clerk will tell you that. Your lawyers will tell you that. So that's a big cost. Probably with today's rates and the lengthy route that it would take, more lengthy route it would take, it's probably going to be $200,000 or $300,000. You think about, you can in the middle of winter, you can take a snowmobile, and you can run your snowmobile on frozen ground anywhere pretty well, including the ditch along in front of Goodyear. But for walkers, people who walk, hike, ride their bicycles, you have to have some kind of base or you're going to sink into the muck. If it's rainy, you're going to be wading through mud puddles. We don't need to do that with the existing one, but some kind of gravel base has to be put in there. There has to be, if you're building a mini road in it. It has to be drained. We have to worry about tile drainage. We have to worry about getting water across the trail. And we have to fence it. Somebody has to fence it. I asked Mr. Milligan last time who was going to pay for fencing, and he said we would collaborate, and I hope he will expand on that when he speaks today, how we will collaborate. He didn't say he'd collaborate with his pocketbook, but I expect somebody, not him, is going to have to pay to fence it, because it has to be fenced to keep those who own it at least to know where they're supposed to be. So those are the cost of the alternate route. The reality is there's no option for an alternate route. There's only one way to get to Strathcona and connect up with the line, and that's the route we already bought and paid for. That's the simple reality here, and we're wasting our time. We're wasting our staff time, and we're really upsetting the people by saying there's an alternate route when there isn't an alternate route. It's as simple as that. The next speaker will tell you that his Holsteins are threatened by people like my wife and I, who have been walking for years through Frontenac Park, Bon Echo Park, all of the parks, the Bruce Trail, Rideau Trail, Killarney Park. We're not threatening anybody. We're not going to be the ones who are the problem. Neither are Mike Sewell and the Tuzels and the cyclist group. And those are the only people who are allowed on in summertime. There's no motorized vehicles allowed on the Cataraqui Trail. Only people who want to hike and ride their bicycles on it. And it's exactly suitable for that purpose. The arguments have been made that it can't be done for a bunch of reasons, and I've given my answers to all of those online, and I won't repeat them here, but it can be done. I guarantee it. All it requires is the will to do it. And you've got the rail bed there. We've accomplished so much in this term. I'm so proud of this council. One of your councilors met me. Councilor Schenk met me in the parking lot at the Home Hardware, and I asked him. He came up to me and he said, "What do you think? How do you think we're doing this term?" And I said, "It's the best council I've ever seen." And I mean that. I still mean it. It's the best council I've ever seen here since this town was formed. And we've accomplished so much in this first 3 years. It's a shame that we let this fiasco stain the reputation that you have built over the last 3 years. I want to say a word about the staff, if I have time. We have an excellent staff here, and I'm proud of them.
Yeah, but we want to make sure that we stay within the boundaries of what we should be speaking about, which is a trail. But if you're going to compliment staff, Mr. Hogle, I'm going to allow you to compliment staff, because I think more people should. So go ahead.
You have an excellent staff. You poach them from other municipalities for the most part. I use the word poached, and other municipalities would like to poach them from us, I imagine. And we have to treat them right to keep them here. When you ask them to do things with a handshake deal, as was said on the 28th of October, you're asking them to violate their duty. Their duty is not owed to this council. It's not owed to any one of you. It's owed to the corporation. That's what their duty is. And their duty is, when they buy something, to get good title to it. To get good title, they have to have a survey. And that's why they had the survey of the thing that they acquired in 2012. They got a survey of it, and they got a deed, and they got a lawyer to do it, and we got good title to that property. We lose staff when we ask them to do things that are pointless, that can't be accomplished, that do not protect the interest of the corporation. That's how we lose staff, and we don't want to lose any of them, and I don't want to lose any of you. That's all I got to say. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hogle. Just hang tight. We'll see if anyone has any questions or comments for you. Councillor Schenk, go ahead.
This is more of a comment because after hearing the last two deputations, Matthew, is there any way, what I'd like to do is, for better clarity, do a timeline of basically when it was purchased, this trail, what's happened, all the way right from 2009 or whenever it was, when it first originally started, all the way through, and put it on our website so everybody has the factual information of how it's gone, and make sure that there's that one map that the ad hoc committee presented also that showed portions of the trail that were sold in Stone Mills Township that were blocked. But as long as they have all the facts there, so then people can go ahead and digest this. And then as we get more information also from the negotiations of what's happening with it, and when we have more stuff, then we can go ahead and make an informed decision. Then everybody in the public also knows. If you could put something like that on our website, it shows exactly what's happened and how we've got to where we've got to.
If, just to help you sleep at night, Mike, those discussions have already been had. And I was going to address it. I didn't want to address it prior to hearing all the deputations this evening. So I'm going to address a few of those things once we've heard all the deputation. I think it's fair, and it's fair that we hear everybody's deputation that we're having here this evening, and then I'm going to address it with a few words after that. But you're absolutely on the right track, but I'll speak to that once we're done. So I think Deputy Mayor Calver, I think you had a question or a comment.
Or I can, through your worship, I can wait till after we've heard all the deputations, and I can throw in my 2 cents worth if you like.
Yep, great, perfect, thank you. Okay, perfect. Is there any other questions or comments for Mr. Hogle? No, seeing none, thank you, Mr. Hogle. And we'll look for a motion to note and receive the rescheduled deputation from December 9th, 2025, Hubert Hogle, the former CN rail line north of the 401. Moved by Councillor Shank, second by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed, the motion's carried. Next matter is a deputation regarding items 7.1, 2.1, 7.2.1 and 7.2.2, Dave Milligan. So come on up, Dave, and I know you've been here as well. So just to give you a refresher of how the microphones work, you got to push and hold the talk button, which is on the left. And when you let up on the button, then the mic's dead. So whenever you're ready, then the floor will be yours.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank council and staff for giving me the opportunity to spend a few minutes tonight to clarify some of the issues that our family has been dealing with. I apologize for short notice, but I guess some of these things were just brought into light as of the late here. I realize council and staff have already heard of the thefts, the encampments, the vandalism that we have had to endure. What happened on December 22nd, 3 days ahead of Christmas, was worse than any of us would have imagined. One of our high moisture corn bags had been cut from end to end, exposing the corn to oxygen and spoilage. Police were called and an investigation was started. The steel gates that the town of Napanee had installed on the old 401 bridge had been cut wide open, and someone had accessed our farm. The gates were fixed quickly by the town staff within a day of the event, thankfully. Our fences and cameras were not effective in stopping this event. This was not another tractor window being smashed out, tools or chainsaws stolen. This was a targeted event by some coward with knowledge on how this would affect us. Our family, like many others in the area, spent all summer praying for rain and watched a once-in-a-lifetime drought ravage our crops to put up a fraction of the feed that our cows rely on. We salvaged what we could, rebagged the feed, and are currently testing the feed to ensure quality. In the case of mold spores in that feed, our pregnant animals will abort their young calves, production of milk will plummet, and overall health will be lost. Being such a tight year on feed locally, there is no supply of high moisture corn to be purchased, making this feed almost impossible to put a value on. Our employees are nervous to be around the farm during our evening chores, not knowing who might be in our buildings or what could happen next. Our young family, who can typically drive a gator or four-wheeler to the barn at night to help with evening chores, now requires parental guidance. This is sad. The future generation of this business and employees should not have to worry about their safety while trying to look after the animals that feed our local population. This old rail bed is the access point and therefore becomes the town's liability in the event of an insurance claim with our local company. This is why a lease for our family farm was not advised by legal experts, as this would put the liability on us as well as the responsibility of policing this access point. The misconceptions around this on social media from a fringe group have been constant and severely inaccurate. All dealings and conversations have been during council, which is live streamed for anyone to watch, just like tonight. The one positive thing from all of this is many different people from different areas have reached out to gain the true perspective of what we are dealing with and are in agreement with our family that this situation does not work. The ad hoc trail committee was formed and has done a pile of work to get the groundwork started for an in-town trail system and getting assurances for an out-of-town connecting link to Strathcona. Please stay patient. There is more work to be done beginning this year. We will see it taking place. We need to stop the negative slandering, have meaningful conversations with the MTO, neighboring townships, and affected landowners to move forward. Some of the landowners that are involved in this situation have land use agreements in place with the Snowmobile Club and have for multiple generations. The negative rhetoric does not help. It only separates the constructive members of the public from those that seek the drama and theatrics. Trails, unfortunately, do not work everywhere. I'm going to be very clear about that. Back in 2023, when this issue came about, I had one ex-dairy farmer to the east of our town contact me about what happened when the trail was open that ran through his farmyard close to his buildings. He no longer milks cows. It tore his family apart, wrecked his livelihood between the vandalism, thefts, and attacks on his animals and family members. He has asked me not to give out his name to the public, but I will share his name with council members if they desire. This is not what I believe the town of Napanee wants to happen to any business operating in town here. When businesses success from one generation to the next, this is a positive thing for our town and should be appreciated, not slandered. The rail line on the west side of town is a constant example of some realities, of some unfair realities. The police resources to keep the encampments there in check are a definite cost to every taxpayer here in town. The difference between the west side of town and the east side of town is that there are no buildings or animals on the west rail line compared to what we have on our side of town. A trail that dead ends, like the one on the west side of town, results in people making their own trails on private people's property, on private landowners' property. I serve as vice chair on the local milk committee, Lear committee, ad hoc trail committee, the rec committee, and volunteer my time with my kids' local sport teams. If this is what makes someone a well-connected farmer, I will take that compliment any day of the week. If the online energy and negativity was being utilized in a more positive way rather than what is happening now, I'm sure the results would be astounding. Look around this room at the staff and counselors that are representing this town. In my time of following council and town events, I have not witnessed this amount of qualified people moving a town forward, sitting in one room together with the same passion and drive to make us a better community. Rural, urban, it does not matter. We are all in this together. And the sooner that we all see that and start acting as a community, the better off we all will be. I couldn't be more proud to be a citizen of this town. With adversity, we will be challenged, and we will move forward as a community together. Looking forward to being able to be a part of that and all the positive things that are happening and will continue to happen here in the future in the town of Greater Napanee. Thanks for your time.
Great, thanks, Dave. Just hang tight and I'll see if there's any questions or comments for you. So, Council, is there any questions or comments for Mr. Milligan with respect to his presentation or his deputation this evening? Seeing none, We'll look for a motion to note and receive. Oh, sorry, do you have a question? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Cower.
I didn't have a question necessarily for Mr. Milligan, but I did want to clear a couple of things up.
Okay, just let me get a note and receive, and then we're going to have a bit of a discussion.
okay,
We're
thank you.
going to get off the track here, but we're going to have a bit of a discussion because I think it's actually warranted. So I'll look for a motion to note and receive the deputation of Dave Milligan with respect to the rail line. Moved by Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Shank. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks. Okay, we're going to get a little bit off track here, Deputy Mayor Calver, but go ahead. I think a bit of a discussion at this point is warranted, so go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship. We're not going to get off track at all. I just wanted to clarify and verify that there is a transportation master plan that includes linking all lower tiers together coming out by the county, probably in February. The county's been working with the lower tiers to come up with some master plans for trails. As you well know, the existing rail that we have, we can't speak for what other municipalities want to do with their portion of it. Stone Mills is depleted or has sold out and got rid of most of their section of it. We can't tell another municipality what to do or what not to do, but collaboratively through the county, there is work going on. It's already been finished. It's going to the TAC committee to go over it, and then it'll be coming to council probably early in February. So there is work being done. Again, town of Greater Napanee can only work on what we have going on here in our municipality. We can't work in Loyalist. We can't work in Stone Mills, but through the county, there is work being done. And you should hear and see some of that coming out first part of February. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. What we heard this evening, we heard a lot of passion from a lot of people, and we've been hearing that for a number of years now until we can get this thing sorted out. It's refreshing to hear the comments from all three folks that provide the deputations tonight, that they have faith in this community, that they have faith in the process, that we have a functioning council, we have a functioning corporation, we have a functioning community. That's refreshing for me to hear those things, because there's times when sometimes you don't hear those things. So I want to thank all three folks that provide the deputations tonight for saying that. What's happened here is that we've got a very, very passionate incident. I shouldn't say incident. That's not the proper way to say it. We've got a file here that passion is very involved in. There's a lot of information that is bona fide information with respect to this, but there's a lot of information that isn't. And we at the town of Napanee, the corporation, feel that the onus is on us to make sure that everything is clear, everything that the information that the community is seeing and hearing and reading is accurate. So to Councillor Shank's words that he spoke earlier, I tasked Mr. Grant in putting a detailed chronology together. I've asked him to do that as of last week. Included in that is links to reports, links to presentations, links to deputations, the whole works, everything that we have. And Mr. Grant has graciously taken that task on, because it's not going to be an easy task. There's a lot of information that has happened over the number of years. And that information that chronology, that information is going to be posted on our website, hopefully in the coming days. I mean, I don't want to put a timeline on Mr. Grant to try and get all this information together, but all the information is there. It's out there. It's on our system. It's on our website. But it's difficult to find. It's difficult to put. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put it all in one spot so that information is there. And I think our community deserves that. Over the coming days and weeks, we're going to have some tough decisions to make. We really are. But rest assured that the decisions that we will make will be informed decisions. They will be in decisions to the best of our ability to include the whole of our community. And that's what this is all about. So I sometimes fear that all the work that we've accomplished over the past 3 years is going to be going all for naught. And I don't want that to happen. I really don't want that to happen, because this community, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best communities in this province. And we're showing it. We're showing everyone in this province that we're one of the best communities in this province. And we're making strides above and beyond pretty near anybody. I would say I would challenge anybody to look at our track record and say, hey, somebody's better than you guys, because they aren't. They really aren't. And I just fear that we're going to start to lose traction if we don't pull together and try and find a resolution to this. So in any event, I apologize. I get a little long-winded sometimes. I just wanted to make sure that everyone is going to be aware that we are putting together a detailed chronology of the events surrounding the rail trail process dating back, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Grant, probably back to 2009. In the coming days and weeks, there will be an extensive, a detailed report come to council with respect to where we are, what we're doing, and where we're going to go, and some tough decisions are going to have to be made. So I just ask the community to bear with us, put faith in us like you have over the past 3 years, and we will get there, and not allow this to destroy one of the best communities in this province. So thank you for bearing with me, and we'll get there. So having said all that, we'll move on to unfinished business, which I don't believe we have any, and we'll get into the administrative consent agenda. First matter is council minutes, regular session of council, December 9, 2025, and special session of council, January 7th and January 8th of 2026. Is there anything in those minutes that anyone has any questions or comments about? Seeing none, correspondence from information items dated January 13th, 2026. Is there anything in those correspondence that anyone would like to pull out and have a conversation about? Seeing none. Proclamation request, Heritage Week 2026. Is there anything in that request that anyone would like to speak to or make note of? Seeing none. Boards and advisory committees, monthly report for January 26. Is there anything in those boards or advisory committee reports that anyone would like to highlight or make mention of or correct? Go ahead, Councillor Murray.
Yes, just quickly, the Arts Committee, which we had a meeting last night. Finally, after a number of years, there will be an Arts Awards Night, February 26th, 7 o'clock at the Doghouse Studio, honoring those who have been nominated. And it'll be a good evening for anybody who's welcome to attend. Light snacks. If you wish to pay for it, there'll be adult beverages. And just be a good night to see the artists in town and that. So just keep that in mind. February 26th, there's stuff going in the paper very soon from Michelle, so our chairperson. So just keep that in mind, please. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Thanks for that, Councillor Norrie. Is there anything else? Seeing none, the next matter is the Drinking Water Quality Management Standard, DWQMS 2025 internal and external audit results. Is there anything in those audit results that anyone would like to bring any attention to? Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Just very quickly, thank you through you, Your Worship. First of all, town staff was to be commended on another excellent audit. I do have a question, and I didn't make a note if it was this report or the next one on the agenda, Christy. The staff where the signature was illegible and there was no printed name, do we have the capability, and maybe this is a question for Jessica as well, to do electronic signatures?
Through your worship. So for a lot of our water and wastewater infrastructure, we're heavily regulated for how we document things. This was likely due to in a logbook or in some of our round sheets, but there is capability to update to some more modern technology. It's something we're exploring. We're not committing to doing that yet. It would take a bit of training for some of our staff, but something we're considering for the future for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, thanks, Christy, thanks, Councillor Hicks. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to the summary of the 2025 compliance inspection for the AL Dayful Sandhurst Shores Drinking Water Systems. Is there anything there? Seeing none. Financial and IT Services Amendment to Bylaw 2025-0048. Is there anything in that amendment that anyone had any questions or comments about? I know we've seen that in the past, so. Growth and infrastructure, amending agreement number 1 to transfer payment agreement for the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund Intake 1. Is there anything in that report that anyone had any questions or comments about? Nope. And finally, the growth and infrastructure 12 Market Square offer to purchase closed session direction. Is there anything in that report that anyone had any questions or comments about? Nope. So we'll look for a motion that council consent to the approval of the following routine items. The minutes of the regular session of council dated December 9, 2025 and special session of council dated January 7th and 8th, 2026 be adopted as presented. That the correspondence for information items dated January 13, 2026 be received. That council endorse the proclamation for Heritage Week 2026. The council receive for information the boards and advisory committees monthly report for January 2026. That council receive for information the growth and infrastructure services utilities DWQMS 2025 internal and external audit results for both the AL Dayful and Sandhurst Shores Drinking Water Systems DWS. That council receive for information the growth and infrastructure services, utilities, summary of the 2025 compliance inspections for the AL Dayful and the Sandhurst Shores Drinking Water Systems that council received for information the financial and IT services report amendment to bylaw 2025-0048 being a bylaw to establish a policy for the disposition of land that council received for information the growth and infrastructure services amending agreement number 1 to a transfer payment agreement for the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund Intake Report number one report, and further that council pass a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute the revised agreement, and that council receive for information the growth and infrastructure 12 Market Square offer to purchase closed session direction report. Moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Items for discussion. Executive Services updating the delegation of authority bylaw, and the Madam Clerk is going to speak to that. So Jess, whenever you get settled in there, the floor will be yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is something that I imagine we will be talking to Council a few times in the coming months, and is one of the main items on the mandate that I received from Council for this term. So just jumping in here. So a delegation of authority bylaw is required under the Municipal Act. However, the Act just says that you have to have one. It doesn't really define what it will be. So there's a few different versions of how municipalities do this. Our current bylaw just outlines the principles of how authority will be delegated. For example, saying such things as a delegation may be revoked at any time without notice unless the delegation bylaw specifically limits that power of revoking the delegation. Shall not limit the right to revoke the delegation beyond the term of council, those kinds of general principles. We would keep that in a new bylaw, but our current bylaw does not define what any of those delegated authorities are. Currently, our delegated authorities are scattered about 20 different bylaws and 20 different policies. There's an appendix to this report that lists out all of the various identified delegations. So we're looking to do two things with this bylaw. The clarity of expectations so that staff know exactly what they are and are not delegated to do. If it becomes a question of, can I do this? The answer will be, is it listed in this bylaw? And if the answer is no, then that's a discussion that's a trigger that needs to go to council for a decision. Citizens will also know what things need to go to council, and council will know what they should be expecting to see reports back on, what things are well within staff's scope of authority to be doing as part of their routine operations. The other thing this bylaw will be doing is acting as an index, and we do expect this number to grow as we have identified a number of other areas where we are deficient in our policies, and we'll be continuing to bring more of those forward in the remainder of this term and years to come. So if you think perhaps back to the boat analogy that Matthew is so fond of, council's duties under the legislation are the governance role to set the policies, priorities, where are we going, what services are we providing, are we doing it in an accountable, transparent way, and staff's sphere is the operations to implement those decisions, to provide advice, to carry out duties, and to report back to council and the public. This slide just talks about there's some things in the legislation the council is not allowed to delegate. Some things that can be freely delegated, primarily in those administrative operational areas. Your legislative and quasi-judicial powers would be things like the power to issue a license, revoke, suspend. That's why currently council is our appeals body for any bylaws that have an appeal process. That appeal is to council. You have chosen not to delegate that. You could decide to. You can also decide not to, but that needs to be defined clearly through a bylaw. So as an example of what this will look like, currently we just have the complement control policy, which is one recently adopted this term, that says, for instance, that the CAO has the authority to hire and fire below the level of the senior leadership team, and above that level, that sits with council. That's in a policy. When we do this bylaw, you'll also see this defined in a table format where the bylaw appendices will say what is the power, who is the person or persons that authority is delegated to, and what are the limitations. Where is this coming from? Are there any reporting obligations to council? Are there any exceptions where this authority doesn't exist? Some of the proposed language that we'd be looking to add in would just be to clarify, and this is an area where we want to have some discussion back and forth with council. What controls is it important to council to have on here? How far are you willing to delegate that authority? What we've proposed is for general operational things, your director or your GM of growth and infrastructure can delegate, road closings all the way down to your manager of public works, possibly not delegating that up to your CAO because your CAO maybe doesn't have the technical information around road closure decisions, but keeping that within that department for the authority is how we envision laying this out, but again, open to feedback from council. And always that the more restrictive provision would prevail if there's any inconsistencies with our other bylaws or with provincial legislation. There's also some work we're doing on this to factor in how the strong mayor powers now do intersect with some of this delegated authority. Because that's a bit of a change that came in partway through the work on this. So as next steps, we will be looking for your input. The next report you'll have from me is a proposed draft bylaw, if you don't hate this concept of where we're looking to go with this, that we'll look for more feedback on. We'll also plan to have a separate discussion about the Planning Act delegations, whether that's something council wants to include or not. There's some specific abilities to delegate some of those powers, which might change what some of our committee of adjustment meetings look like, and the planning department will be bringing that forward for your consideration. And then once we get this new bylaw in place, we would look to do a twice annual update just to ensure that with the new and amended bylaws and policies, we're keeping everything current and up to date. Does council have any questions at this point?
Thanks, Jess. Is there any questions or comments for Jess with respect to her presentation of the reports in front of us? Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, through you, your worship. Well, I read it from start to finish, and I reread some of it. And Jessica, I have to say, you and probably Shannon and your staff have put a lot of work into this. And I think a twice annual, you said twice annual or biannual? Either way.
Twice annual, because that's less confusing than biannual.
I appreciate that, which I think is a really, really good idea, and I hope that's followed through resolution or bylaw for the next term, because staying on top of this is, as we've learned, is absolutely critical to the performance overall of the corporation. So yeah, you're to be commended on this. This is right up there with the brand new land registry that we have. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hicks. Yep, go ahead, Mike.
It's a good thing you enjoyed reading it, but it was like reading tax law. But what I really like, Matthew and Jessica and staff, is that everybody has a role and everybody knows what their role is. So there's no excuse, well, I thought you had that covered or you not had it covered, who does what, and everything's laid out from top to bottom, basically, of what you can do and what you can't do as a manager or a CAO or deputy mayor or mayor for signing and this and that. So I didn't find it really exciting reading, but it was really good. I like the way you've got to set the plan.
And sorry, through your worship, I just realized I missed one of the slides, which was the most important discussion slide. So one of the things that we don't have any explicit delegated authority around right now that we really want to make sure goes in here is agreements. Which agreements come to council? Which agreements do not need to go to council? What's a routine? Do you need to know if we are signing off an easement for hydro to put in a new power pole on our property? Do you not? That's one of the big things we want to put in here, as well as Finance Department is looking for some authority to perform more administrative functions with tax assessment and appeals, to take those off of council agendas, looking for authority for writing off uncollectible debt. That's the sort of thing we would see also having a policy to go with it, because that's a bigger thing and it wouldn't just be a one sentence. We have a couple bylaws. We've noticed that it just says the town shall determine, and who is the town. We need to clear up who that is. And also just looking for picking a dollar value around things like, when can legal and insurance claims be settled by the appropriate department staff or the CAO? And when do you want to see those come to council before they're settled? And again, if council says the value is 0, we want to see everything, then that's good information for us to have, and we would include that in here.
Great, thanks, Jess. Is there anything else? And we will be seeing a lot more of this, I'm sure, in the coming days and weeks. So thank you for that, Madam Clerk. But if there's nothing else, we'll look for a motion to note and receive. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Next matter, Executive Services Support Request, Palace Housing and Homeless Enumeration. And Madam Clerk, you're going to speak to that as well, eh?
Yeah, so through your worship, just after Christmas, we received a request from our partners next door at Palace. They are conducting a homelessness enumeration effort at the end of this month here. We believe this is important work. It helps inform the updated 10-year housing and homelessness strategy that they're also going to be doing. And it's to our benefit that this be supported by as good of data as possible. They have asked if council or if the town would be willing to lend some of our support to this effort, specifically our bylaw staff, as they do have the most direct knowledge and interaction with our local unhoused community. It's not within our established service levels, so we are just looking for council's indication of whether you're supportive of that or not. Staff believe that this is an important partnership to be supportive of, and we have the capacity to. But if you have any questions, or we're happy to take those.
Great, thanks, Jess. Councillor Narn.
Thank you. It just seems odd they're going to do it in the winter. They just go to, it'd be like going to Kingston in the summer and counting students. You don't do that because they're not there. Why wouldn't they have our bylaw do it when they know where everybody is in the spring, summer, where you get a true count? Is there a reason they're doing it next month?
Through your worship, I believe the CAO Grant did pose that question to our friends at Pellis and was advised that they believe they have a better handle on where everyone is this time of year, that people tend to be harder to reach in the summer months. And we did find the response that we received to be reasonable.
Thanks, Jess. Mr. Grant, did you want to weigh in on, or are we good with Madam Clerk's?
So just briefly, so I did indeed pose that question. I know our specific numbers are highly elevated in the summer months. So we might indeed see more individuals there. But as the clerk has indicated, the warming center is a very good space to see where, you know, people are and get their details and their information. As is, they're also going to expand it to temporary transitional housing. There may be the aspect that we may not catch everybody, but I think the information shared with us is they could more fully gain an accurate count at this time of year. And given that, you know, this is their business and enumeration is their legislative responsibility, I'm inclined that we would follow their lead in this instance.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Thank you, Councillor Norrie. Councillor Hicks.
Thank you through you, your worship. And Jessica, this can be easily worked into the course of their regular business day. It's not going to impact any other service levels.
Through your worship, the department is flexible on what they do, and so we believe that it is achievable. We've been asked for assistance on the days when this enumeration is happening. We don't know for sure whether it's actually going to take up the full day or not. We'll have a better sense for it once we're into it, but it's not unlike we're having staff assist with our by-election, and that is also cutting into enforcement response, but it's a relevant department service. So
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you through you, your worship. And I one further question. I know this is on specific days, but if bylaw comes across new faces, they'll still communicate that information to Pellis just to make sure there's an awareness with partner agencies that there's a new face or faces in town.
through your worship, yes, that's correct. We are still part of those frontline staff groups that are meeting every other week to share any relevant information. And any new people will be counted and reported into the Pellis group.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anything else, Councillor Shank?
So Matthew, Jessica, is there going to be another enumeration done by Palace in the summertime when the numbers are extremely high? Because numbers looking great right now this time of year, but in the summer when our population probably doubles with homelessness, that the books don't look as good as when you have all the facts, you know?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I can certainly bring that question to them. I am actually meeting with Pellis leadership on Monday on an adjacent matter. And if it's, I'm happy to pass on that our council is interested to know if we're going to have a count also in the summer when traditionally numbers are higher. But to date, I'm not sure, Councillor.
One other thing, Matthew and Jessica, when you sit down with Pellis, if you could go ahead and ask them, well, what have they done proactively to make it better? Or take, what have they done in the last year from last year to this year? What have they planned or what is their plan or a strategic plan to do things a little bit better, you know what I mean, mitigate some of the problems that we've occurred with some of the problems the county has occurred and what they've done. If they could give us a little report saying, you know what, this is what we've done, this is what's worked, this is what doesn't work, rather than just getting airtime, I just like to hear what they are really going to do.
Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I can certainly pose that question. I suspect some of the things that I will hear, in addition to the housing summit that they held to collect some of the information, which I believe high among those were better communication with the public about what they are doing. And also having transitional homes staffed, which was big in that they are working on an updated housing strategy and have committed to widespread consultation on that to answer some of those questions. So that would be one of the answers. But what have they done in the interim from last year to this year, I believe is the question, Councillor, and I would certainly pose that to them.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there anything else? If not, we'll look for a motion to receive for information the Executive Services Support Request, Palace Housing and Homelessness Enumeration Report. That council approve using bylaw services resources to support Palace in their enumeration efforts. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carver, second by Councillor Norrie. If there's no further comments, questions, concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Executive Services Draft Commercial Leasing Policy. And Mr. Grant, I think you're going to speak to that one.
I am. Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So council will recall I brought forward in December some agreements that were set for renewal. And I did at that time indicate that we did lack a certain amount of guidance when it came to leasing and agreements and things of that nature. So the first out of what will be a body of work, but I think some of the most important work is a commercial leasing agreement. A commercial leasing policy. And what this particular policy outlines is roles and responsibilities. How would we go out to ensure best value? How do we comply with the Municipal Act anti-bonusing policy, which speaks to not providing undue benefit to commercial businesses and also gives council a degree of flexibility. What would be the mechanisms to determine market rent? What would be some of the indications or the considerations to move away from that? Those kinds of things. It also speaks to specific delegated authority to members of staff if in the initial lease agreement there is an option to renew. My recommendation in this policy is if that option has already been indicated in the terms outlined, that might be something delegated to staff. And right now we don't know what we do in terms of, what is the proper course of action in that. What do we do with rental arrears? What is the process there? So this is what we allocate in our commercial leasing agreements, and what that would be commercial businesses mainly and government entities. Commercial businesses because they're profit driven and that's their main incentive. Government entities because they are taxpayer funded and it seems unreasonable for one taxpayer funded organization to subsidize another. This does not include some of the community or nonprofit arrangements that we would have with various groups. That would be under a subsequent policy we would bring forward. And we're doing work around that too. But this, I would say, would be one of the most pressing issues. So what I have done is I'm bringing this forward, not for decision today, just for council's awareness and consideration. So you can give this some thought, and when we endeavor to bring this back in the near future, council will have had some time to review, ask questions offline, suggest any edits, additions, deletions. But this is the kind of clarity that would really help us. I would also point out that one of the other things that we would be doing would be separating those responsible for the lease relationship and those responsible for the operating relationship. So, for example, Mr. Brown, dealing with the arena and people working there, would be responsible for, making sure that the facility is in good repair or developing operational partnerships and the like. Currently, he's also responsible for going to collect unpaid rent, if that's the case. It's not necessarily conducive to the best relationship, I would suggest. And so creating, delegating, or if you will, the authority to legislative services to be the overseer of the leases, the relationship holder of the leases, which are primarily in 99 Advance and the Best and Bash Center is where we have, leasing arrangements with governments, the broader public sector or commercial organizations. Anyway, so this is the first pass at that. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and council will see this come back for official adoption, any amendments you care to bring forward.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there any comments or questions from Mr. Grant with respect to what we're seeing this evening? Councillor Hicks.
Thank you through you, Your Worship. Matthew, I'm not sure if I missed it somewhere, but in the case of a partnership with, just I'll say recreation, so that would fall under the leasing policy. If we're operating in partnership with someone, does it still qualify as a lease?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, it may, I would suggest that would be more in line with an individual standalone partnership agreement. I would say also, but where the other thing that we would be looking at is the concept of community licenses. And that would be where an organization is providing social good. And that's a bigger body of work, and I can tell you that is underway. But this is straight when we have a business relationship with an organization, how do we deal with that and who is responsible for what? When we have relationships that aren't that cut and dry, where people are either offering nonprofit services, they're offering, say, recreation services in partnership with us. There'll be a couple of different avenues which will encompass, is the right tool a partnership agreement? Is the right tool a community license? That's a bigger body of work, and we will be bringing that back. But this candidly was the easier lift.
Low-hanging fruit, right. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hicks. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there anything else? Councillor Martin.
Mr. Grant, this is long overdue, by the way. Just, it's one of the things over the years that I've said that the town of Napanee has been a very poor landlord. Business-wise, especially, I mean, it's taxpayers' money that we invest in things and then we lease it. Are we going to be specific on certain buildings? Like, are we going to look at cost, expenses, and versus revenue coming out of each unit?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we can certainly do all of those things. So if it was council's wish to have a leasing registry of here are all the leasable spaces that are available for commercial lease, that we can do that. We would already know what it costs to run those. The policy itself does speak to what kind of lease we get into, our operating cost included or charged separately. I would suggest yes. It also, there is several different options about how we would determine market rent. And so I would say with 99 Advance and office space, that's a little easier because there's lots of office buildings around and we would know what market rent is and we could do a survey of that. I would say with things like the Best and Bash Center, not as easy. Not a ton of municipal arenas in Greater Napanee. We're the only one. And you might look at other areas, but it's a different market. So you might go to an RFP and get people to submit what they're willing to pay. And that's the market assessment. But in all the leasable space, if we were to have that sort of registry, we could put that together. We could also put the general operating costs for those if that's council's wish.
I've just found that in the past, and I'm not speaking about anything specific right now, but the town is not really, I mean, you're not in it for a profit, and we shouldn't be competing with private enterprise. That's kind of where I'm going with some of this as well. Over the years, what I've experienced is sometimes the town competes with a private business person, and sometimes unfairly. So I just, I want to cover everything. If you're going to dig into this, I want to make sure everything is covered. That's all.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, and fair enough, Councillor, I think what the concept of market rent tells us and the inclusion of utilities and property tax and that sort of stuff is we don't make ourselves artificially more attractive to a private sector offering by offering what would amount to a subsidized rate for a commercial space. If it's a straight up business. If it's an organization that can't afford to pay market rent because, say, they are offering subsidized children's programming, so family income is not a barrier. Well, that's a social good and a different conversation. And candidly, it's why a municipality has taxing authority, because we're in the business of social good. And there are some municipal businesses that don't make money. That would be a separate area to take a look at. This is a commercial lease. How do we be in the marketplace where if there's comparators between us and somebody else, we're not offering an unfair advantage for going to the municipality because we're charging market rent. That's the intent of this policy, Councillor.
Thank you. Could I just?
Yep, go ahead, Bill.
What I'm talking about in the past too is some of the like, for instance, banquet halls where you might be competing with, well, the Lions Club's not there now, but the Legion, for example, now, like the town is, as sometimes we get into a situation where we're taking business away from a private individual in town. So I just want to make sure all that's covered. That's all. Thank you for your response there.
And just finally, and through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree. And I'd say, with a straight up business type relationship, that is the purpose of this policy, to make sure that we do not offer an unfair advantage that others can't do with being subsidized with public money. And I appreciate the questions, Councillor.
Thanks, Councillor Martin. Thank you, Matthew. Is there anything else? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation to council receive the executive services commercial leasing policy for information further. Council direct staff to bring forward a commercial leasing policy for formal adoption at a February 2025 meeting of council. Moved by Councillor Shanks, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Bylaws. First bylaws, bylaw number 2026-0003 to authorize the execution of an Ontario transfer payment amending agreement. I need to put a motion to put it on the floor. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Norrie. Ready first, second, and finally passed this 13th day of January 2026. All in favor of the motions on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Bylaw number 2026-0004 being a bylaw respecting the registration of group homes in the town of Greater Napanee. Look for a motion to put it on the floor. Moved by Councillor Shanks, second by Councillor Hicks. Read a first, second, and finally passed this 13th day of January 2026. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Bylaw number 2026-0005 to provide for the licensing, regulating, and governing of rooming houses in the town of Greater Napanee. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Norrie. Ready first, second, and finally passed this 13th day of January 2026. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Bylaw number 2026-0006 to amend bylaw number 2025-0048, being a bylaw to establish a policy for the disposition of land. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Hicks. Ready first, second, and finally passed this 13th day of January 2026. All in favor of that motion? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
One question, Jessica, when you go down to application proceeds of sale of land, second one is sale of lands located within the industrial park and north highway of, read that one. There we go. All right. I'd love to have Toronto, but all I'm saying, that assessment just. I was saying, hey, what are we acquiring, Jess? Go, girl.
Go ahead, Jess.
Through your worship, I believe that falls under a typographical error that is obvious and can be corrected after this bylaw has been passed.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jessica. We're good to call for the vote. All in favor of the motions on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Bylaw number 2026-0007 to appoint municipal law enforcement officer night patrol. Look for a motion to put it on the floor. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, second by Councillor Martin. Ready first, second, and finally passes 13th day of January 2026. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Information reports from members. Are members, do they wish to provide any information reports to council? Seeing none. Inquiries. Do members of council have any inquiries they want to task staff with for an upcoming meeting? Seeing none. Do any members of council have any notices of motions? Seeing none. New business. I don't believe we have any new business. Announcements. Do any members of council wish to make any announcements this evening? Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Now, this kind of strikes home to my heart because I lost a very dear friend there on January 1st. He spent 25 years in the armed forces. There's other members, and I grabbed a hold of a Napanee Beaver, and we lost some really well-respected individuals in our community. And one of the members here lost his dear father that will be sorely missed. But as a municipality, you can see a lot of the age there and a lot of the hardship that some of the families are going through at this time. So when you put all that in perspective and some of the infighting and some of the derogatory remarks or whatever, you put that all in places, it makes it awful small. So I just, as a municipality, I think our heart goes out to a lot of those individuals that are there.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mike, and very well said. Is there anything else? Seeing none, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't wish my wife a very, very happy birthday today.
Oh, surrounding points on that one?
Yep, go ahead, Ange.
Yes, to reiterate, happy birthday, Mayor's wife. I won't say any names. And I'd also like to just remind everyone that there is an election day coming up on Monday, January, I lost the date, 19th, yes. So please do, if you're not registered already, get that done and get out there and vote. It's very important. And for those of you that are planning on voting in the general election, it's never too early to make sure that you're on the voters list. I know I am because I checked. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Ange. Is there anything else? Seeing none, Mr. Grant, CAO's remarks. Did you wish to make some remarks this evening?
Thank you, Your Worship. Briefly, I think I would be remiss, and this is following up on Councillor Hicks. I would just like to recognize Legislative Services for all the work that they're doing, in addition to putting things together like the Delegation of Authority bylaw, which was way more work than I thought it was when I asked for it, and doing a municipal by-election and doing their regular duties. They are also contributing to budget and running, full speed. And I think it's worth recognizing the small but mighty team of Legislative Services who's taken on more than their share at this point in time.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Matthew. Very well said as well. Is there, yep, go ahead, Mike.
While I'm on a roll, as you heard, one of the deputations tonight that was praising staff. I think, I've always been honest to call a spade, guys, but you know what? Sure, it was said that we poached, but you know what? There's a lot of senior staff and a lot of staff that wanted to come to this municipality, and they're coming for a reason. Because you know what? We've dealt it fair, honest, and above board. And over all the years, I'm really happy how the team is working together. You saw that through the budget process. You saw that through the interaction between all aspects of all the employees. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's all roses all the time. You know what I mean? But all I'm saying is it's kudos to the senior staff and everybody else. except for cell phones that are on. That's all right. Thank you. That's all right, Matthew. I know, hey, person that throws stones at windows get thrown back, so thank you.
Great, thanks, Mike. Is there anything else? Yep, go ahead, Ange.
It's not really an inquiry. It is an announcement in a way. The by-election, there's been some numbers bandied about, and I'm assuming that staff will be bringing back a full financial accounting as to the actual cost of the upcoming by-election.
So through your worship, I can confirm that on the January 27th agenda, council can expect to see a report regarding turnout numbers and lessons learned from the by-election. And then in either February or March, depending on how long it takes to get all invoices in, you will see a full cost accounting as well as our required accessibility assessment report post-election.
Excellent. As always, Jessica, one step ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Ange. If there is nothing else, look for a motion to confirm the proceedings for the bylaw of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Greater Napanee. Moved by Deputy Mayor Cower, seconded by Councillor Norrie. Read a first, second, and finally passed this 13th day of January 2026. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. And look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Shank. If there's no further comments, questions, concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks, folks, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.